Here we go. Exercise 2B. Now it's parallel lines. Now we know what parallel lines are. Parallel lines mean that you have two lines that run in the same direction, which we usually use arrows to indicate they're parallel. Okay? It means that they never cross. Kind of like your tables. They were built to be parallel. The roads are parallel. Yeah? So they always go in the same direction, but they never go in a different angle. Because had it been a different angle, eventually this line and this line will cross. So you need, when they're parallel, it means they never cross. Okay? But when they are parallel, there are some cool properties that we then identify. So, the cool properties are, and this is probably the most difficult part, there are 4 key types that you need to be able to identify. First one's called corresponding angles. The second one, which we know is alternate angles, what 2 am I missing? Now, you may have learned this in year 7, you may not have. Usually it's taught in year 7. But I'm just curious. Anyone know what the second or the missing one is?
Co-interior?
We've got co-interior. Write this in, even if you didn't know. Co-interior. Pencils here if you need pencils. Sorry? You can write in pen. Yeah. So co-interior, so you've got corresponding angles, number 1. Number 2, you have what we call co-interior angles. Number 3, we've got what we call alternate angles. And the last one, which we kind of looked already, and most of you have learned from 2A, starts with V. What was the thing that we learned that was symmetrical? Someone, not James. Let's go, Shakira. Vertically opposite. Write this in. Okay. Now, we've got 2 parallel lines shown by 2 arrows, right? Now, there is a line that crosses through them. So we're saying, what if I drew another line that literally is not parallel, it just crosses through them? Now, when it crosses through, there is a special name for that line. That line starts with T and actually has my surname in there as well. Only people who've watched the videos will know. What is this called?
Transversal line?
Transversal line. Write that in if you didn't know what that was called. Transversal line. And that only just means it's the line that crosses through a parallel. Okay, crosses through parallel lines. Now, when it crosses through, you can see these properties emerging. See, vertically opposite. If I zoom in, see the red line is a straight line. Red line's a straight line. And we know that in a straight line, what's the angle for a straight line again? 180 degrees. So we know that from here to here, from this point to go to this point, which is that arc there, that's a semicircle, it has to be 180 degrees. Which is interesting because if I told you this was hypothetically 150 degrees, what would this little acute angle have to be? That little acute angle here, what would that have to be, Fraser? 30 degrees. And that's because 150 plus 30 has to add up to 180. Now, what's the special name for that? If it adds up to 180? No, not Sam. Jay? Well, that's the angle, but it starts with S as well. When 2 angles add up to 180, we call it?
Let me check my math.
It's from 2A. Starts with S? No. S. Supplementary. Okay, so these 2 are supplementary. And this is where you can see the vertically opposite coming about. See, if this is 30, then the same thing again. This green line is also a straight line. That means this angle over here, 30 plus this angle, has to add up to 180 as well. Which is why that's 150. And these 2 is what we call vertically opposite. Okay, and that occurs because you have a transversal line in a parallel line. Okay, so that's why in the properties, there are special angles that we notice, and one of which is vertically opposite. You've learnt. That's where they come from. Okay, and same thing with a 30. These 2 are vertically opposite as well. And all together, that should give you a full revolution, 360 degrees there. Okay? So, what I'm going to teach you today is 2 sets of skills. 1, you have to be able to identify which one of these 4 have you got. Okay, so identify is the first skill. Number 2 is to utilize that skill. And that's where the problem questions come in, and I'm going to show you how we're going to apply them. Okay? The first step is to identify. So this is how I usually teach them. I teach it using this table. I call it same. I call it different. Why do I call same and different? Notice that the order I put in the notes for you, corresponding and co-interior, they share the same letter. Starts with C. Starts with C. So that's the same. Whereas alternating and vertically opposite, one starts with A, one starts with E. They're different. Okay, so I split them up into 2. When they're the same, you can either have corresponding. So write this in, corresponding. Whoops, it's 2 R's actually. Corresponding. Or co-interior. If they have different letters or different names, alternate versus vertically opposite, they're on this side. So this is alternate, and this is vertically opposite. I find it helps you to easily remember to identify, because every time you identify, you'll be able to figure out, is it on the same side or is it on the different side? You figure out there's only 2 options to choose from. So you have a 50-50 chance of identifying it correctly. Once you've copied this down, so corresponding co-interior is in the same column, and then alternate and vertical opposite is in a different column. So here we go. Let's do each scenario. What is corresponding? I'm going to zoom in. Here's your 2 parallel lines. I'm going to draw my transversal line. So just draw a line that crosses through. Here's my transversal line. Okay? How do you know that you have a corresponding angle? It's when the angles that they give to you are on the same side of the transversal line. I'll say that again. It's when the angles, so for example, this angle here, so I've got it over here, that's on the left side of the transversal line. If you have another angle also on the left side, it follows this pattern. It's in the second column. Okay, so I could have this angle over here. See how they're both on the left? So if 2 angles are on the same side of the transversal line, that's what I wrote here. Same side. Okay, so they need to be the same side, but also not only just being on the same side, because you could have had this angle here, you could have had this angle here. Those are on the same side, but these are not corresponding. The one that I just drew in pink, the purple and pink are not corresponding. Purple and pink are not corresponding. They are supplementary, but they're not corresponding angles. However, these 2 purple lines, they are corresponding. So I added another point to help you remember. See how this is on top of the first line? So that's the first line. It's on top of the first line. Corresponding normally means whatever you do, the other person corresponds. They do the same. So if this is on top of the first line, then it also has to be top of the second line. Very good. So I normally tell my students top with top, bottom with bottom. So what do I mean by that? You see, you can have, say, if I did another angle on this side, and I did like this. Okay, so this is on the right side of the transversal line. So that angle there in pink, that's on the right side. If I want a corresponding angle, I need to make sure the second angle is going to be on the right side of the transversal line, but acting the same as this one. So if this is on the bottom, it needs to be on the bottom as well. These 2 in pink are corresponding. These 2 in purple are corresponding. I'll do another color so you can see another one. Let's see, what's another nice color to choose? Let's do orange. Okay. This one in orange is on the bottom, but on the left side. If I want a corresponding angle to it, it needs to be on the left and bottom. So that means this one. So orange and orange, these 2, bottom of the first line, bottom of the second line, those 2 are corresponding. This one is in purple. This one is on the top of the second line. and it's on the same side of the transversal line and on top of the first line, that's corresponding. So in summary, when you see two angles, your first question is it on the same side of the transversal line or is it on the different side of the transversal line? If it's on the same, there's only two types. You either have corresponding or co-interior. It has to be on the same side. That's the first thing. So that helps you memorize the four. Okay, so I'll do an example later, but does that make sense so far? So if it is corresponding, then both angles are, and fill this in, the same. What do I mean by that? Yeah, I'll draw an example so you can see. If I have two parallel lines and I draw a transversal line like this, and I told you that this is 150 degrees, so there, 150, it's on the top, first line, then the angle down here, this is also 150. These two are corresponding. Okay, so they're both on the same side of the transversal line and they're both on top of the line. So top with top, same side, that's corresponding. If they're corresponding, angles are the same. Okay, Fraser, you had a question?
No.
Okay, cool. All right, let's have a look at co-interior. So corresponding is probably one of the harder ones to pick. Okay, but if you understood what I said, same side and top with top or bottom with bottom, that's the easiest way to identify corresponding. Yeah? All right, let's have a look at co-interior now. Now, if you think about the word co-interior, what does interior mean? Fraser? Inside. And what do you, when we use the word co, what does co mean? Quinn? Together. Yeah, so like co-parenting or co-teaching, that means two are doing the same thing together, right? So when you say co-interior, it means that both angles are both inside as well. So here, let's draw a transversal line for this example. So co-interior, I'm going to draw the transversal line again. Splits the left and the right side, yeah? Now, for it to be co-interior, remember the first thing is it has to be on the same side of the transversal line. So it needs to be either on the left or on the right. Okay, so it's either both on this side or both on that side. Now let's say I pick the left again. For it to be co-interior, interior means inside. So it has to be inside the parallel lines. Can't be up here, can't be down here, that's the outside. Inside is here. That angle and this angle, see how they're on the same side? So I'm going to fill it in, same side, and both inside the parallel lines. See how that's different to corresponding? Corresponding was that they were on the same side, but one was top with top, the other one was bottom with bottom. Co-interior, interior in itself means inside, co means both of them. Both of them are inside the parallel lines, and both of them are on the same side of the transversal line. If it is co-interior, it's very different to corresponding. It's not the same angle, because we can already see one's obtuse and one's acute. So it can't be the same angle. Okay, so this is an acute angle and that's an obtuse angle. What they are though, they are supplementary. What does supplementary mean again? Very good. So fill it in. They both are supplementary and they add up to 180 degrees. So whatever this angle is, if I told you this acute angle was, let's say 70, what would this angle have to be? 110, because they have to add up to 180. Yeah, so that's why these two aren't the same. So a common mistake students do is they write 70 and 70, but if you think about it logically, it doesn't make sense. One's acute, one's obtuse. How can they both be 70, right? So this is 110, that's 70. These two are co-interior. If they are co-interior, they must add up to 180. So far, so good? Okay, so when you're identifying them, the first step is you always ask yourself, are the two angles you're looking at on the same side of the transversal line or are they different? If they're the same, you've got two options. You've got a 50-50 chance of getting it right. Yeah, narrows down out of 4. You don't have to do 1 in 4 chance. You've got now a 1 in 2 chance. So far, so good? All right, let's now look at alternate. So alternate is the second hardest one because it's very similar to corresponding, but they're not on the same side. So here we go. I'm going to zoom in for alternate. Let's have a look. Let's draw another transversal line. Here we go. So I've got the left side, I've got the right side. Notice it's under the column of different. So that means the two angles you have, one has to be on the left, one has to be on the right. Okay, they can't be on the same side. So, how do I make it alternate? It's alternate if you have something like this. See, that's on the left, the transversal line. But notice here, we had inside parallel lines or outside parallel lines. So alternate is that they have to be on different sides and outside with outside or inside with inside. So it's different to corresponding. Corresponding was top with top and bottom with bottom. In alternate, it's outside with outside. So if I want outside, I need an outside over here now, and it needs to be this one. See, it's on the right side. One's on the right, one's on the left. This is on the outside. This is on the outside. Now, here's a quick question to see. Why can't it be this one? So, sorry, I'll do another color. Let's do purple. There's purple. Oh, I took it away. Let's do purple. Why? This is on the right side. This is on the left side. So two different angles. And this is on the outside. That's on the outside. Why is this not called alternate? What's the reasoning? James?
Because they're not of equal values, or...
That's true. They're not equal values. One's acute, one's obtuse. There's another obvious one as well. They're on the same line. It's a straight line. And if they add up, what do they add up to again? And so what do we call that? No, starting with S. Supplementary. So there's a name for it already. Why do we have to call it alternate? It doesn't make sense. This is called supplementary. Yeah? So one's obtuse, one. That's why this one and this angle, even though it is opposite sides, so different sides, and they are both outside, doesn't make sense. This we already got a name for it. This is called supplementary. That's why these two, see that's obtuse. That's an obtuse angle. These two are obtuse. They're both on different sides of the transversal line. One's on the left, one's on the right. One's outside as well. So outside with outside, we call that alternate. Let's try another one. I'm going to pick another angle. Let's say I pick an inside one now. Let's pick this one. See that? That one I've done in blue. This one is on the left side and it's inside. So if I want it to be alternate, I have to do it inside and on the right side as well. So it has to be on the right side. These two in blue are alternate. Can you see that? That's alternate. And again, by the same theory, why couldn't I do blue and purple? What's wrong with blue and purple? Fraser? Why is blue and purple not alternate? They're on different sides and they're both inside the parallel lines. Why is blue and purple not called alternate?
Because they're inside and outside, rather than inside and inside, or outside and outside.
Actually, they're both inside. So these are the two parallel lines. And they're both inside. So that one's inside of the parallel lines. This one's also inside the parallel lines. One's on the left, one's on the right. So it seems to fit the data. But why is it blue and purple called alternate? Since it fits the description. Sam?
Well, they're not alternate because they're on the same line.
Again, same line. Notice that? Straight line. That means these two have to add up to, and if it adds up to 180, it's called supplementary. So this has already got a name. You don't have to give it a new name. It's already got a name. And also notice this is an acute angle. That's an obtuse angle. They're different. So they can't be the same. So these two, that's the common mistake that students make. They think these two are alternate. They're not. I know it fits the idea that they're different sides. One's on the left, one's on the right. And I said inside, inside, outside, outside. Yes, inside and inside, but that's supplementary. Okay? So these two though, see they're both inside. So I'll color it again. This one and this one are both inside, but one's on the left, one's on the right. That's called alternate. Let's do another one. I'll do the color orange now. Actually, I'll do green. So this angle in green, is this on the inside or the outside of the parallel lines?
Inside.
Inside. So it's clearly inside the two parallel lines here. So that's inside. Now it's on the right side. So this is on the right side of the transversal line. If I want an alternate angle, it needs to be on the left and inside. And on the bottom line. Very good. So these two are called alternate. Does that make sense? Okay, so the color coding, pink and pink, that's alternate. Blue and blue, that's alternate. Green and green, that's alternate. If I want to be more careful as well, I can also say in orange, outside, outside. These two are also alternate as well. Okay, so one's on the right, one's on the left, outside, outside. Okay, so which one are the hardest to identify? Corresponding and alternate. There's a lot more like things that you have to sort of identify there. Which are the two easiest? These two. Co-interior, because they both have to be on the same side and they have to be inside. Co-interior is easy to remember. And vertically opposite, you guys already know intuitively. Here we go, let's do it again. Here's a transversal line. For it to be vertically opposite, see if I told you this angle was 150 degrees, vertically opposite must be this one. But can you see it fits the description? Are the two angles on the same side of the transversal line? No, they're on different. One's on the left and one's on the right side. So that's why I wrote here, different sides. So if they're different sides, you either have alternate or you have vertically opposite. There's only two options to choose from. Then the next thing is, how do you know that you have a vertically opposite angle? Best way to see it is if you have an intersection. See where they cross? It's always where the two lines cross. So right here, it's where both lines intersect. That helps you remember. These two are vertically opposite to one another. These two acute angles, let's say that's 30 and this is 30. These two are vertically opposite. I forgot to fill this in before. If they're alternate, they're the same angles. If they're vertically opposite, they're also the same angle. All right. So these are your four. Now that's a lot to digest. It's probably one of the hardest for year 7s to walk into year 8 and remembering. So 2B, exercise 2B is the hardest one to remember. And then going to year 9, we keep applying. So we assume the students already mastered this, which the reality is that most students don't. Okay, it goes all the way up to year 12. I still remind them, like, what's co-interior again? And they're like, oh, it's something, sir, something. But 2 angles. I'm like, yes, you're on the right track. You need to know it. Okay, so if you're planning to do senior mathematics, this is going to be prerequisite. It's almost like your times tables. You've got to walk in knowing how to identify them already. Okay, so that's skill number 1. Skill number 1 is I'm going to give you a bunch of examples, and then I want you to see if you can identify what type of angles we have. Okay, so again, these notes are on OneNote. So if I'm going too fast, you can always go back to the screen and watch my videos or just look at the notes again. It should be there. All right, here we go. Let's do some examples. Flip over the page. And you can refer to the notes to get used to this idea. So here are 2 angles. Here's the 2 parallel lines. 2 parallel lines. Here's your transversal line, which I'll draw in blue. It separates this side and the upper side. So top side, bottom side. Yeah? You got 2 angles. Which 2 angles do you have? You got A, you got B. Here's the first question I want you to keep asking yourselves. Are the angles on the same side or different side? So these 2 angles, are they on the same side of the transversal line or on different side of the transversal line? Same. Here's the transversal line and they're on the same side. So if it's same, look at the column again in my notes. Which 2 have the same letters? Which 2 out of your 4? Which one could it be? There's only 2. Which 2 can you have? Corresponding and? Co-interior. Those have 2 C's. Yeah, so if you look back at this column, see if your first question is it on the same side? If it is on the same side, you only got 2 options. Corresponding or co-interior. So it limits your options down to 50%. 1 in 2 chance of getting it right. Get me? Rather than 1 in 4. So let's have a look now. They're on the same side. So you either have co-interior or corresponding. But remember, co-interior is the easiest one to identify. For it to be co-interior, what do both angles have to be? On the inside. Now, these are your 2 parallel lines. A is definitely on the inside, but B is not. B is on the outside. So therefore, it can't be co-interior, and it might be corresponding. So let's check. This is on the bottom of this first line. So this is bottom. Does it copy in the second one? Yes, it does. That's on the bottom, and that's also on the bottom. That's corresponding. Corresponding means you do exactly what they do. So A and B must be corresponding. Does that make sense? So you narrow your options out of 4, you narrow it down to 2 just simply by asking, are the angles on the same side or not? Okay? Copy that down. Let's have a look at B. Let's ask the same question again. Are the two angles A and B in example B, are the two angles on the same side of the transversal line or not? Fraser? No. Beautiful. That's the kind of questioning I want you to have. So it's alternate or vertically opposite. It's one of those two. We don't know which one. So then we use the knowledge that we know. Now, vertically opposite, remember, it's where the intersection is. But you can see B is on this intersection. So A needs to be over here to be vertically opposite. A needed to be here. But A's not there. A's on this side. So clearly, it cannot be vertically opposite because it has to be on the same intersection. Yeah, we said where they cross, A and B needs to be on the same line. So it's not on the same intersection, so it can't be vertically opposite. Then we test, is it alternate then? Let's have a look at this one. Is B on the inside or the outside of the parallel lines? Inside. So this is inside, and then for it to be alternate, angle A also has to be inside as well. Is A inside? So it must be alternate because it's inside, and they're both on different sides of the transversal line. Does that make sense? So first question is always, is it on the same side of the transversal line or not? Then it reduces your options down to 50%. Yeah? Let's have a look at C. All right. Same question again. Is A and B on the same side of the transversal line? Yes, because transversal line is here. A and B is clearly on the same side. So which two options do you have, Sam?
Interior and opposite.
No,
Corresponding.
because they both have the same letter. Okay, so co-interior and corresponding have the same letter. They're on the same side. So there's only two options. But these two, co-interior is the easiest one to identify first, so check it. Is A on the inside or outside of the parallel lines? Inside. So this is inside. Is B on the inside or outside?
Inside.
So they're both inside as well, so that literally fits the definition of co, which means both, interior. They're both inside and they're both on the same side of the transversal line. Does that make sense? So it gives you sort of a guidance on how to identify that. That's the first skill. Okay, so in your exercise as you're going through it, the first part of fluency is doing what I just did with you, is to be able to identify them correctly. How do we feel? Give me a show of hands if you felt at least 50% confident in understanding that and identifying. That's pretty good. Let's go up. 60%? 70% confident? And then 80% confident? Oh, that's good. That's a good percentage. All right. Now, once you build up that skill, then applying it is the next step. So you have to be able to identify first. Here we go. Let's do the first example, the first applying example. Example 2 here. So you got a bunch of numbers here. There's a lot of information. The enrichment type questions gives you more information, right? So right now we're just sticking with a few, and your goal is to pick 2 angles. Any 2, doesn't matter which 2. You pick any 2 angles, and then you go through the same process as I just taught you to identify. So here we go. I'm going to pick 70 because I've got a 70 angle here. Now, if I pick it with A, so I pick these 2. Doesn't have to be those 2. It could have been 70 and B, but let's do 70 and A. Go through the same process. Is 70A on the same side of the transversal line or different? Fraser?
It's on the transfer. It's on the same side.
So which 2 options can I have?
You would have either corresponding.
Good.
Or interior.
Good. So corresponding or co-interior. We don't know which one yet, but the easier one to identify is co-interior. Check if they're both inside. A is inside, for sure. Is 70 inside? No, so it can't be co-interior. Now you check, is it corresponding? This one's on top, So top with top. So this is on top of the first line. Is A on top of the second line? So they are corresponding. Now, if it's corresponding, are the angles the same or different? Same. Those are the notes I gave to you, and it makes sense because this is acute. That's acute as well. This has to be 70. And if you think about it even more logically, if I cut this piece in half, if I literally separated it, isn't this just a mirrored image of that? I can just overlap them. So, of course, whatever's there has to be this. That's the logic, right? And that's pretty much how the chairs are built. They're all parallel. That's why you can keep stacking them, because they have the same angle and you're literally putting them on top of each other. That's why they stack up vertically well, right? That's the same idea. We've created the same angle, same size, same dimension. That's why when you stack them, they run parallel with each other, just stack on perfectly. Make sense? That's why that's 70. Okay, so now we know A is 70, and if they ask for reasoning, you would say 70 because it's corresponding. Very good. What about I pick another two angles? So let's say I pick 70 again, and I pick with B. Now 70 and B, you ask the same question again. You ask yourself, is 70 and B on the same side of the transversal line or different? Different. So if it's different, which two can I have? Let's go with Mark.
Vertically opposite.
You can have vertically opposite or? What's the other option? Has to start with a different letter. Alternate. Very good. So you can only have one of these two. Which one's easier to identify? Vertically opposite. Let's check that. If they're vertically opposite, it should be at the same intersection. Here we go. B and 70 happen to be exactly on the same intersection. Both the angles sit in both those lines. So it definitely has to be vertically opposite. So if they're vertically opposite, are the angles the same or different? Same. So this must be 70 as well. And you'd write vertically opposite. There's your reasoning. Last one. Now you don't have to do 70 and C. You can also do B and C as well. B and C. What is B and C now? So hopefully you can identify it quicker. What is B and C? What's the identification? What is that called? Let's go with Jay. I haven't picked you for a bit. Jay. B and C. What are they? What do we call B and C? Is it corresponding, co-interior, alternate, or vertically opposite?
Vertically opposite.
No, vertical opposite means angles have to be on a different side. See how they're both on the same side?
Yeah.
So if they're on the same side, it can only be co-interior or corresponding. So it's one of those two. Let's go with Ava. It's co-interior because we can see that they're both on the same side and they're both inside the parallel lines. They're co-interior. Now, if they're co-interior, what must they be? They're not the same angles. One's acute, one's obtuse. What do you have to make sure, James?
You have to make sure they both equal up to 180.
Good, they're supplementary. So you have to add up to 180. So 70 plus what gives you 180?
110.
Beautiful. So C must be 110. You're right, co-interior. Okay, so this is your challenge. The challenge of exercise 2B is applying after you learn to identify, because each one I identified, but you have to keep practicing to pick two. As you get better, this is what you should be able to do. So I'm going to zoom out for you to see. You should be able to do something like this. So once you get really confident, see all that information? Yeah, that looks confusing, but if you identify two, just keep picking two. Find your two parallel lines like these two. See, this is parallel with this. Here's your transversal line. Then you can work out this angle is co-interior. So that's 146. That must be 34. Okay, and then if that's 34, you can use stuff you learned from 2A. But you only do this type of question once you feel very confident in isolating the problem. Okay, that's the skill. The skill is to be able to isolate it. That's why your fluency, they make it easier for you. They don't give you too many information. They give you a direct, two parallels, one transversal line. Then they move on to, let's make it a four-sided shape now. So two parallel lines, and let's see if you can work with that. And once you can work with that, they will give you unconventional shapes, say like this one. Same thing, you look for your two parallel lines, see if you can work out and identify. And once you can do those unconventional ones, that's where you do a lot more interesting ones before you get to enrichment. Get me? So you build up your skill. Don't jump directly into it. Build the skill. Number 1 is identify. Number 2 is to apply. Cool? Have a go with the next few problems. I'm going to write up the answers for the last one. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to write up the answers. You can check once you're done. Okay? Have a go with these ones and then start working on the exercises. Here we go. I'm going to stop the video.